The forest was too quiet. I'd been hunting in Gifford-Pinchot National Forest dozens of times. I knew every trail, every bend in the river, every area where elk usually passed through at dusk. But that October afternoon, something was wrong. The sun was already dropping fast behind the pines, and I still hadn't seen anything worth tracking. I decided to check one last ridge before heading back to my truck. Just 20 more minutes, I thought. One more check. That's when I noticed the silence. It wasn't the normal forest silence. It was the complete absence of sound. No birds. No branches creaking in the wind. No movement of small animals in the underbrush. It was like all wildlife had vanished at once. I stopped in the middle of the trail, listening. The air was still. Too cold for October. My breath formed small clouds of vapor in front of my face. And then I heard the first sound. Crack. Loud. Sure. Coming from above. I looked up at the treetops. It wasn't the sound of a branch falling. It was the sound of wood being broken. Deliberately. About 8, maybe 10 feet up. Another crack. Closer this time. My stomach tightened. I started walking slower, trying to make as little noise as possible. My eyes scanned the trees around me, looking for movement. That's when I saw the marks. 3 deep lines gouged into the bark of a cedar. Perfectly vertical. They started about 7 feet off the ground and ran down to the middle of the trunk. They weren't elk marks. Elk rub antlers horizontally. And they weren't black bear marks. Bears scratch downward, starting lower. These marks were different. Too long, too deep, and too high. My hand instinctively went to the knife on my belt. I kept walking faster now. The trail was getting dark. Shadows between the pines were stretching out, merging into each other. Another crack, this time to my left. I stopped again. Silence. Then I noticed something worse than the cracks. Tracks. No, these weren't normal tracks. They were pressed deep into the damp earth right beside the trail. They had a canine shape, like a wolf, but they were massive. Each print was almost the size of my open hand, and the distance between them was impossible. No wolf takes strides that long. No animal I knew of. I followed the tracks with my eyes. They ran parallel to the trail, always keeping distance, like something had been following me, watching. My heart started racing. That's when I felt it. That primitive, visceral feeling every animal gets when it's being hunted. Something was watching me. Right at that moment, I turned my head slowly to the right. And I saw it. Between 2 pines about 40 yards away, there was a silhouette. Standing. Completely motionless. For a split second, my brain tried to convince me it was a person. Another hunter. Someone lost in the forest. But it wasn't. The shape was too tall. Way too tall. 10 feet. Maybe more. The shoulders were broad, but the body was thin. The arms hung straight at its sides, too long, reaching below where the knees should be. The head was tilted slightly forward like it was studying me. I couldn't make out details. The light was too dim, and the creature was perfectly positioned in the shadows. But I could see the outline, and the outline was wrong. Nothing moves like that. Nothing stands that still. My lungs stopped working. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The creature took a step toward me. The sound of its foot hitting the ground was heavy. Final. The earth seemed to vibrate slightly. Another step. Dry branches snapped under the weight. The same sound I'd heard before. But now I knew where it was coming from. My body finally reacted. I took a step back. Then another. Slow. Not taking my eyes off the silhouette. It stopped. We stayed like that for seconds that felt like hours. Me backing up. It standing still. Watching. Then the creature turned its head. Not its body. Just its head. Turned at an angle no human neck could manage. And I swear I saw something gleam where the eyes should have been. That broke the trance. I turned and ran. I didn't look back. Didn't stop to listen if I was being followed. Just ran. Stumbling over roots, hitting low branches, slipping on damp earth. My lungs were burning. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear blood rushing in my ears. When I finally saw my truck through the trees, I almost collapsed with relief. I yanked the keys from my pocket with hands shaking so badly I dropped them on the ground. Grabbed them again. Unlocked. Got in. Locked all the doors. I sat there, gasping, sweating despite the cold. I looked in the rearview mirror. At the tree line behind me. Nothing moved. But I knew something was still there. In the shadows. Watching. I started the engine and got out of there as fast as I could. I never went back to Gifford-Pinchot. But sometimes, driving at night on empty roads, I look in the rearview mirror. And I swear I see something too tall standing between the trees. Always in the corner of my eye. always disappearing when I look straight at it. Connor had grown up hunting. Since he was 12, he'd spent hunting seasons in Freetown Fall River State Forest with his dad. He knew those woods like the back of his hand. The trails, the ponds, the best spots for tree stands. But that November afternoon he was alone. His dad had passed away 3 years earlier. Cancer. Fast and cruel. Connor still hunted. It was his way of connecting with the memories, with the good times. The day had been unproductive. No deer. No movement. Just hours of silent waiting that led nowhere. When the sun started going down, he decided to head back. The trail back was narrow, surrounded by dense brush on both sides. He knew the way. He'd walked it hundreds of times. He was about 20 minutes from his truck when the forest went silent. That unnatural silence. Complete. Suffocating. Connor stopped. Waited. Nothing. And then he heard it. A voice. Connor. His name. Calling his name. It was his father's voice. His blood ran cold. Connor, help me. The voice was coming from behind the dense brush to his right. From a place where nobody could possibly be. The brush was too thick. No space. No trails. But it was his voice. Exactly his voice. The tone. The way he pronounced his name. The same slight Massachusetts accent. Connor, please. I'm hurt. His heart raced. Every bit of logic in his brain screamed that this was impossible. His dad was dead. Buried 3 years ago. But it was his voice. Asking for help. Connor took a step toward the brush. He stopped. Something was wrong. The voice was perfect. Too perfect. But something was missing. Emotion. Real urgency. It was like hearing a recording. Right words. Right tone. But empty. Connor. Come here. It wasn't a request. It was a command. Connor backed up. Connor. Come here. Louder this time. More insistent. Almost angry. He turned and ran. Connor got home thinking he'd left it behind. That whatever he'd heard had stayed in the forest. He was wrong. The first night he was lying in bed almost asleep when he heard it. Tap, tap, tap. 3 knocks. On his bedroom window. Connor sat up in bed, heart racing. His house was a split level and his bedroom was on the upper floor. The window faced the backyard. There were no trees nearby. Nothing that could touch the glass. Silence. He waited. 1 minute. 2. Nothing. Must have been a branch falling on the roof, he thought. When? Something. He lay back down. Tap, tap, tap. The same 3 knocks. Deliberate. Spaced out. Connor got up, walked to the window. Opened the curtain slowly. The backyard was empty. Just the dark grass and the tree line in the distance. Nothing. He closed the curtain, went back to bed. The second night it happened again. Same time. Same 3 knocks. This time he didn't get up. Just lay there listening. Waiting. The knocking stopped after a few minutes. The third night, Connor installed a security camera pointed at the backyard. The knocking happened at the exact same time. The next day he reviewed the footage. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. No movement. No shadow. No animal. Just the empty backyard and the 3 knocks audible on the camera's microphone. The knocking continued. Every night. Always 3. Always the same window. Always the same time. Connor stopped sleeping right. Deep circles under his eyes. Hands shaking. Paranoia growing. He considered moving. Staying at a motel. Anything. But he couldn't. The house was all he had. It was the house where he grew up. Where his dad had lived. On the 7th night something changed. The knocking came as always. Tap, tap, tap. Connor was lying there, eyes open, waiting for it to stop. But it didn't stop. After the 3 knocks there was a pause. And then he heard the voice. Connor. Outside the window. Right there. Inches from the glass. It was his father's voice again. But this time closer. Clear. More real. Open the window, Connor. His whole body was frozen. He couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. I need to come in. The voice wasn't asking anymore. It was demanding. Connor forced his body to turn. Looked at the window. The curtain was closed. But he could see a shadow on the other side. A shape. Standing. Waiting. Too tall to be human. Connor. Open. The window. Each word was pronounced with mechanical precision. No breath between them. No variation in tone. Connor squeezed his eyes shut. Connor. The voice exploded in volume. It wasn't his father's voice anymore. It was something trying to imitate it, and failing. He pulled the blanket over his head, hands over his ears like a child. The silence returned. He stayed like that for hours, shaking, waiting for sunrise. When sunlight finally started coming through the window, Connor got up, checked the camera footage. Again, nothing. Just audio of the knocking and the voice. No image, no shape, no visible shadow. That same day, Connor packed his bags and moved to an apartment in the city. Put the house up for sale the next week. That was 2 years ago. Connor never went back to Freetown Fall River State Forest. Never hunted again. The house was sold to a young family. He didn't tell them anything. He wouldn't have known what to say. Sometimes, late at night, in his third-floor apartment in downtown Boston, surrounded by buildings and people and constant city noise, he still hears it. Tap, tap, tap. 3 knocks. Somewhere distant. Maybe at the window. Maybe at the door. Maybe on the wall. He never goes to check. Because deep down, Connor knows the truth. Whatever called his name in that forest is still looking for him. If you've experienced anything like these stories, tell me in the comments. I read every single one and might feature your story in a future video. If these stories made you scared of forests, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next stories. Because trust me, there's a lot more out there. And you might want to lock your window tonight.